everyone, welcome. We're going to look at some of the important principles in the Hun Yuan Tai Chi today. What I wanted to look at is the idea of open and close, which is a really important part of the training. So first of all, I'll just introduce it through some basic exercises, which people who are doing the classes will be familiar with. So this is, even within the warm-ups, we already explore some of these ideas. So the first one is when we work on the shoulders. So when we relax, before we sort of move the shoulders, we close to the center of the body, and then we open out from the center. So this is very important. Even though most people just mistake this as a warm-up, it's actually exploring some of the principles within this form. So you're learning already about some important points. So this is when we close, we call this close, then we open. So what you're feeling, or what you should feel, is how this part of your body, from your chest to your abdomen, the dantian, and even the legs, close or bend. You can see the legs are bending, the body's closing. On the side view, you'll see how my posture changes like this. So there's a kind of rounding of the back. Then I open from the center and circle and then close back to the center. So when you're doing this in let's say, more refined way, you would notice that the movement from here is actually activating the upper body, the shoulders and the chest. So it's different to if you were just kind of working with one part of the body, or even if you were imitating this part and then doing this, it starts to become a separate thing, but really it should be the same. It should be the same thing. And it starts from the center and opens out, then goes back to the center and then closes. Okay, so I just want to make this clear. So a lot of movements within the warm-ups in the Hun Yuan system are already showing you or explaining the main principles of the art. So even when we move, say, the shoulder, it's through the leg, through the waist, then the shoulder. So it's not actually, that's just shoulders. So if you can see, my knees are bent. In fact, my knees are bent here, and I'm moving this way. So my whole body is quite soft. So you need to have that idea. Then you reverse the same idea. So if you add, say, another element to it, let's say we want to move the hands. So I use exactly the same principles, and then my hands follow. Can you see? So I'm circling my hands. I'm rolling my body, circling my body, and moving my hands. So if I was doing this in another way, and I was just moving my arms like that, which is what a lot of people do, sort of like movement of the waist, but you can always see there's some tension in the upper body. So you need to be aware of that. You need to make sure that your whole body relaxes when you're doing this. And then you can go the other way. Okay, so that's how we look at that idea that the body is moving the arms. Another movement, just to emphasize it, you can see this movement. So one hand is up, one hand is down, and it really comes from here. So it's a very simple warm-up, or one of the Fan Sung Gong movements where you're transferring weight, balance yin yang, really is teaching you about this. So you'll see that I relax into this side. It's like a seesaw. So this relaxes and this moves, rises. So that's very important. So then if you add the arms I was doing earlier, you get that. And after a while, there's also, it's almost circling up and down. So you get this circling effect as well. So the whole thing is really connected to the feet, through the legs and the waist, to the arms. The arms, quite passive. So they can be relaxed like this, but if you connect with the body, You get this kind of effect. So swinging arms, this sort of warm up, also emphasizes that same principle. In the very beginning of the form, Hun Yuan form, you'll see you start here, when you finish here, you'll see this movement. So again, it's following your waist. When you turn, so here you can see again the shoulder, as we did earlier, is through the body. So all I have to do then is add the arms. So here again, to the waist. So here, this is closed, this is open. So when I open, turning my waist, and at the same time, I can raise my leg. So there's like a connection through the waist to the leg, and of course the arm separates, and then pounding the mortar. So when we move, gradually you feel it's coming more and more from the center of your body and not just your arms. So if you're not familiar with Tai Chi or this form, you may start, copying movements and just very much arm-based. And it can look quite correct if you're not trained or you don't really understand the principle. But over time, if you're following it properly and you understand what to do, it starts to happen all inside your body. So that the body movement really influences the arms. So they become, you can see how I'm just randomly doing things, but it should all come from here, emanate from here, from inside the body. Another example, there's plenty in the form, but I'll go through a couple so you can see that. It's from here, let's say we're doing this movement. So we're circling the waist. So here, you're training up dantian, how the dantian, the center of the body, moves. So if you think of a ball inside your body, and it's like rolling ball. So it's not just turning on this plane like that. There's also this kind of rotation. So my lower hand is following the waist. Okay, it's sort of, being driven by here, by the center of the body. So when you first learn, often you don't engage this part very well, and you tend to use just the arm, maybe a bit of waist movement or leg movement. So another important point when you're training is to make sure that you sit, that your body sits. Right? Can you see my hips? When I lower my weight into my leg, that's what we call sit. Yeah, so you have to relax here. So you get that. That's really important. So it's a very simple exercise. If you place your hands on your waist, bend your knees as though you're sitting on the chair, and then push your weight across. Push your weight across, turn your waist, turn your waist, turn your waist. So what you need to feel, and this takes some time, is that the actual pressure is from the ground, from the bottom of your foot when you push. Of course your legs are engaged, your muscles are engaged, but you've got to get to that point where you can feel it in the very bottoms of your feet. You're transferring your weight. Okay, so now if we engage this arm like this and then down. This is part of what we call chansa, but of course all the movements have this quality, this spiraling quality. That feeling again is from here, eventually, from the center of the body. So you can see the arm is very soft. It just follows the waist. Then you can reverse. Yeah, so you need all of this to come together in your practice. So when you relax, feel that you're closing. An exercise that, another exercise, and I remember learning this from Chen Shang, the disciple of the main teacher, Feng Siqian. You bring your arms down here and just sort of like let your body relax. So you can see my body's really adopting the basic principles of hunching babi. So your whole body's starting to relax down. You open, so you naturally feel here, this open. You come up, you come down, see how the hands are, and just relax down. So good to practice this, a few times before the forms, and just get used to the feeling of the body relaxing, and you naturally start to engage this part of the body. So more understanding of this will help your form. It will give you a completely different feel. So even though I've been practicing for so long, over 20, 30 years or whatever it is now, 20 years doing this form and other forms before, Yang style, traditional Yang style, I find that the more you relax, the more your body changes, the more you start to really understand the principles. They're not something you can just copy. You have to really do the practice. Things like the standing practices are helpful because over time they force, I shouldn't say force, but they do. Your body has to adapt quite naturally to those principles. So standing posture is really useful, like holding a tree and letting everything relax. Gradually, you'll feel the body changing, and as the body changes, you also notice that your energy starts to get stronger and build. And that's very enjoyable when you have that feeling, especially when you're doing your form. You'll feel it moving through your body. So many layers. So as you get better, one thing changes. The physical, you have to get rid of the tension. And that's the hardest job for people. And that's why a lot of the practices are done in a standing or moving position, because they're the conditions that your body holds more tension. So if you're just lying down or sitting, you probably won't feel too much in terms of your body. But once you start moving, you notice, oh, my body's still quite tense. So that tension is also a reflection of certain weaknesses within your system. So it's good to practice until you start to notice that your body's relaxing more and more. I'll demonstrate a couple more movements just to bring this point out more clearly. So after this movement, so we're pushing down, notice here, see how my body just relaxes, and then I close. So you can see it's very much part of, it's a very natural way of moving your body. So this is open and then close. So you can see here again, similar to what I was demonstrating for that movement earlier. Then I open. Notice, the shoulders are down, even though the hands are up. And then I turn like this. So you can see how the body twisting. And then I form the hooking motion with this arm, the other hand here. Use the leg, that's a circling movement and a step. Then transfer weight. So when I transfer, look at how I sit in the leg. Look at how I turn. And then use the center here. And back here again. And then into the single width posture. So you can see my body sit straight here. The knees are bent about 60 to 70% of the weight of this thing. It's still bent, so it's not straight like that. Yeah, so that's the final posture there. Relaxed. So when you get to here, you can see this is open, it's closed. So the body sinks. So that's back to that same principle of drawing everything back to the center. So this is the theme in the form, the whole form. So look for it in the basic movements, the warm-ups, and then try and gradually understand it within the form. Hope that was useful. Thanks for your attention.